That's right. It's Monday morning, June 8th, 2026. Do you know where you're at? Have you voted yet? Do you know you can't vote today, but you can vote tomorrow? In fact, if you haven't voted, you must vote tomorrow. And that is an order from Penny. Penny says she wants everybody to get out there and vote, and since she cannot, she will only dream about voting and the opportunities that may arise. So how you doing this morning? I'm Ann Eller right here with you today. I tell you what, we have a lot to talk about here today. A lot to talk about. Of course, we had the Festival of Flowers, big a success, I think, this weekend. Lots of people out enjoying. Penny and I even walked down there on Saturday night to check it out. It was kind of interesting. We'll be talking some about that. We'll be talking about Election Eve, all the things you need to know and maybe some you don't want to know. But we'll be talking about that this morning. We'll also be talking a little bit about data centers. You should know that Saturday morning I was not on the radio with you because I was doing important work. Well, what were you doing, Ann? I was at the monthly Democratic meeting, the Greenwood Democratic meeting, and it was most interesting because Toby Chappell, our county manager, along with Mr. Bateman, and Joanna Bishop, James Bateman to be exact, and Joanna Bishop, county council person, were at the meeting to discuss data centers. So I thought, what a perfect opportunity for me to go and get more information and get it from a different perspective. So we'll be talking about that in just a little bit. I also went and last night saw a classic movie. You know, I love those old movies they're doing at the theater on Sunday nights. Actually, I think they do them Sunday and Wednesday evenings. And this week's selection was Clueless. And I've got to admit, I never saw Clueless back in 1995. And there's probably a good reason, because if I had gone, I probably would have gone with Jeff Eller, and he would not have liked that movie. So there is a reason I didn't. But I did go and see it. And, I was thinking about being clueless. I was thinking about how it was in 1995 versus how it is today. And I was thinking, I wonder, are we more clueless than we were in 1995. In 1995, we had, I think they had pagers, phones. We may have had cell phones. But they weren't the rigor that they are today. It wasn't something that was in everybody's hand. And so today, all our thinking is put together by these cell phones, isn't it? We think about things, we look up things, we don't have to remember things because we have our cell phones, our smartphones with us. So I was just thinking about how that was shaping our lives. And are we actually in today's world more clueless than we once were? I concur. I think we may be. But anyways, it was a lighthearted, humorous film about a teenage high school girl who was making sure that everybody had the perfect life, all the while leading her own perfect life, and then realizing there was something missing and found it. There you go. That's my synopsis of that story. The name of the movie was Clueless from 1995. So that was just kind of fun and interesting. Yeah, they still had payphones. Yes, they did. And they still had in this movie there was a scene where the star of the show got robbed, yes, and she was told to lay down on the ground, and he stole her purse, he stole her phone, he stole everything from her, and then told her to lay down on the ground. One of the funny lines I thought from that was what? What? You want me to lay down? I've got this whatever style dress this was on. That would be a travesty. And then she looked at him and she goes, okay, I'll lie down. Anyways, that was kind of a fun non-thinking movie to go see. And you know, the thing about it is, without smartphones and all this kind of stuff, they were still able to manage. And that is one thing I think sometimes in today's world we forget, that we can manage without cell phones, or we used to be able to. The question is, have we become too attached to that appendage on the end of in our hands? So today we have all the information in the world available instantly, and sometimes I wonder if we're even more clueless than we were back then. So here's a question for you. If you lived through 1995, are we really smarter today than we were in 1995, or do we just have better technology to help us be clueless faster? Okay, are we really smarter today than we were in 1995? Are we smarter? Today we have all this information available, but are we really smarter than we were in 1995, or do we have better technology to help us be clueless faster? I think we have better technology to make us clueless faster. So that's a little bit of an intro on that. I do want to go ahead before we get into election stuff, and also talking some about what I found out at the meeting, the Democratic meeting for that they had special guests, Toby Chappell, James Bateman, and Joanna Bishop, who is on county council. So let's go ahead and check the weather. Penny and I have already been out. It's pretty nice. It's a little, the air feels a little heavy. 79 degrees right now. We are looking for a high today of 83, low of 70. Very little chance of rain till maybe later in the day. Right now, shouldn't get any. Partly cloudy skies during the morning, giving way to a few showers late. Thunder possible, high of 86. Chance of rain is 30%. Tuesday, we come in with a high of 81, low of 68, and a almost 70% chance of rain on Tuesday. So we're definitely getting rain on Tuesday. However, by Wednesday, we'll have a high of 89, low of 71, and drop down to about a 20% chance of rain. And it proceeds to be very warm the rest of the week, 90 in the mid-90s. Lows in the 70s, but chance of rain really doesn't come around till next Sunday. So Monday, Tuesday, look for showers. Other than that, that will be it. We'll get very warm out there. So if you've got any things you need to do today, make sure you get out there and do them today or tomorrow. So one of the things I wanted to discuss was early voting. Early voting ended Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock in our state. There won't be any voting going on today, but tomorrow will be the last day that we all can vote for the person of choice for any of a number of seats, and a couple of questions on the Republican ballot that I wanted to share with you. If you haven't voted, you might want to know what those are. So early voting, 318,602 votes were cast in this last election for 2026. That's a huge jump. Back in 2024, 120,170 votes were cast for early voting, And in 2022, talking about the same election cycle, which was for representatives that we have every 2 years here in the state, 100,450 early votes. So early voting has definitely become popular. 318,000 votes were cast during this 2-week period. So that's a huge increase in participation. So one of the things that I was thinking about in my little brain here was the Trump effect. Since Donald Trump did not endorse Pamela Evette until May 29th, do you think that his effect is going to be as huge as if he had done it earlier? So did President Trump's endorsements change the race, or had most Republican voters already made up their minds? I think that is the question. All throughout her campaign, Pamela Evette has leaned heavily on Trump and the McMaster endorsements. You know, she went to Washington several times trying to get that done. She leaned on McMaster to help her get it done. And on the 29th, on a Friday night, a week ago from Friday, she made that happen. So does that actually affect how voters will turn out? And, you know, my question is how many people had already made up their minds so the Trump effect wasn't an effect? Alan Wilson has continued to run on his own record. His quote throughout the whole election has been, "You've got to earn this vote." He's called it a job interview. Anytime that he's spoken, he's made it very plain that he was being interviewed for the job of governor. What I did find fascinating is that every candidate reacted different to President Trump's endorsement. Some embraced it, some ignored it, some challenged it. By Tuesday night, we'll know whose strategy worked best. I just found that whole thing, how will it work out? I'll tell you the truth. I read a lot of comments on Facebook, and it really was hard for me to see where it was totally a positive. Now, I know it was a positive. That's not what I'm saying. But a lot of the comments were very lukewarm, negative, not as many positive comments as I would have thought. So I think it's going to be most interesting to see on Tuesday evening when we get the results. Will Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette come out on top and take the whole thing so there'll be no runoff, or will it be Pamela Evette and somebody else for a runoff? Or is it possible that Pamela Evette is not in the final two? I think most people think that she will be in the final two, although this horse race has been so close here at the top, moving back and forth between Nancy Mace. I've seen polls where Nancy Mace is on first, Ron Reddy in second place. Ralph Norman hasn't really been in the top two, but Alan Wilson, Pamela Evette, Nancy Mace still amazes me, her tenacity and her ability to stay right near the top. So we'll see how this thing shapes out. Evette has, of course, been on this big bus tour. She's, as we've said, leaning heavily on both Trump and McMaster. Funny, I asked her the other day if she was coming to Greenwood. You know what she told me? She didn't know. She was just on the bus. So I don't know if we'll find out if she's coming to Greenwood or not. She's been all around us, but so far she hasn't made it to Greenwood. So She was at some big rallies this weekend. She was down there at the big concert that they had down there at the beach. She was down there. But again, my question is she talking to people who have already voted? How many people have not voted? With 318,000 people voting, I wonder how many people are actually going to vote in this primary election. So, and of course, at the last minute, Ralph Norman pulled out his lieutenant governor pick, and he picked the most conservative in the state, Adam Morgan. That was supposed to show what type of background that he will have. I think he said, "We'll make Florida look liberal," he told supporters during a June 3rd. This was Ralph Norman at a Columbia area. So that was one. Reddy returned to the Low Country over the weekend, making several stops in his home region before a final weekend swing through the upstate. Wilson, back in Columbia on official business, hosted a rowdy event at the Lexington County Brewery with local act Tokyo Joe, a last hurrah with his closest supporters. And he told them, you got to earn the vote. Now, where was Nancy? I don't know. Mace quickly followed suit. What does it say? There was people dropping out of being on forums and this type of thing. And I will say, Pam Evett certainly did avoid the debate process. And, in the end, we're going to have to see, did that help her or hurt her? All right. And then, of course, did you hear McMaster's son dropped out? He's no longer pursuing the lieutenant governor. I don't think he was ever pursuing the lieutenant governor. I believe that there was some deal worked out. Now, I don't know this. All I can do is say that I believe something had been worked out. I believe that Pamela Evett was not pleased with tying her hands with the endorsement with President Trump. So another deal was worked out. But I don't know what deal or if there's any. And so the question becomes, what impact, if any, has that decision had on the race? So therefore, that's going to be another interesting. It'll also be interesting, in my opinion, to see what happens if Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evett becomes the next governor. What role will McMaster's son play in an Evett administration? Again, though, she's got to get to that point before we can even have that discussion. All right, so the question now becomes, all right. So Saturday morning, I attended the Democratic Party meeting where County Manager Toby Chappell, which seemed a little unusual, but maybe not, Joanna Bishop, County Councilwoman, and James Bateman discussed the proposed data center ordinance. There were some things that I learned. I also left with a lot more questions. So I wanted to play a couple of clips from it, and this is just really going to be a little intro today. We're going to talk more about it tomorrow. So let's see if I can pull those up. Right here, should be right here. Here we go. So clip one. This is Toby Chappell, County Manager, telling the folks why the amendment, why on the amendment. So let's take it away.
This text amendment is not allowing data centers. This text amendment is restricting data centers and putting structure in place so that they can't come in a manner that has no guidance and no regulation. So that's the why, and that's what it is. The whole discussion we're having now is not whether we're actively recruiting a data center or where their data center is going to go. What we're doing now is try to put some guardrails in place so that we can have a data centers if one was to come to fruition, but we can have one with regulations and rules.
So that was part of Toby Chapel that you were just hearing at the Democratic meeting Saturday morning, June 6th, discussing data centers. I got notification of this on the afternoon of June 5th, and that's where I made the decision that I needed to be there because it was good to hear what people are saying, and so you don't have to. I go and do these things. So now I want to play you one, and I do not know the name of this person, one of the comments that was asked. She asked a series of questions, and then this was one of them. Take it away. This, I thought, was one of the most interesting questions asked all morning, going to the fact of data centers. Take it away. Here we go.
If the reason for this text amendment was because there's a lack in the zoning for
Right.
a rural development district,
Yes.
then why not just close that loop?
And isn't that the question? Why not close that loop? You know, in Sunday's paper, there was an editorial that said, as far as data centers, basically, we understand the need for protections, we understand the need for guardrails, but why can't those protections be paired with a temporary moratorium while additional study is completed? And over at the meeting, I think people were asking all kinds of questions. Some they felt they knew the answers to, some they didn't. But here's the main question. This is the thing that I've come back to since the meeting last Tuesday evening. The Planning Commission recommended a 24-month moratorium. Representative John McCravey suggested a moratorium should be seriously considered. In fact, he even went to the trouble of writing up because he is a lawyer, a moratorium with teeth in it that would hold up if it was challenged. And the newspaper editorial suggested a moratorium should be considered. So with these questions remain, why is County Council not seriously considering that option? If you're talking about closing the loop, making sure that a data center doesn't get in here and get on a piece of property that we don't want them on, yada, 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 then why wouldn't we just put that moratorium right there? And then afterwards, in 6 months or a year, whenever you've got all the information and you feel good about it, you lift the moratorium. There was one other thing that I found most interesting at this meeting on Saturday morning at the Democratic Party meeting. The Newberry was discussed during the meeting. Newberry was having a meeting about a data center. However, Newberry's recent moratorium wasn't really part of the discussion, even though they had just passed a moratorium. That's something that I think deserves a closer look. So why if, and also it was brought up that Newberry had asked some questions of Greenwood. And then in the end, however, they decided against they put a moratorium in effect. But that was not mentioned at the meeting. The only thing that was mentioned is that Newberry was discussing this. So right now we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we've got more to talk about. We're going to question some more. We're going to talk about what's coming up. So you stay right here on WCRS Radio. Let's take it away with a commercial break for you. Because we have so many commercials, we've got to get them all in. So Let's take it away. Here we go.
Celebrate summer in full bloom. This is Lindsay Turner, chairperson of the 59th South Carolina Festival of Flowers in beautiful Greenwood, presented by Wesley Commons. This festival is packed with fun-filled attractions for everyone, from Kid Fest to arts and crafts, garden symposium to 5K, wine walk to bike tour, blooms and beats, and the larger-than-life topiaries. Main weekend is June 5th through 7th. Visit scfestivalofflowers.org for all the details and celebrate summer in full bloom at the South Carolina Festival of Flowers.
This is Mark Lynch. I'm not a career politician. I'm a businessman, a husband, a father, and a proud South Carolinian. I've spent my life raising a family, building a business, creating jobs, balancing budgets, and doing what I said I would do. That's the kind of accountability we need in Washington. I'm running for the United States Senate because South Carolina deserves a senator who answers to the people, not the lobbyist, not the special interest, and definitely not the Washington establishment. I'll fight to stop reckless spending, defend the Second Amendment, protect all life, support the America First agenda, and prioritize South Carolina's families again. This is the final week, and your vote matters. The politicians and insiders are counting on you to stay home. Don't give them that chance. Vote Mark Lynch for United States Senate on June 9th. I'm Mark Lynch, and I approve this message.
Paid for and
Hi,
authorized
I'm John
by
Mc-
Lynch.
Hi, I'm John McCravy. I ran for office to serve our community and stand for the values that we believe in. In Columbia, I've worked to protect taxpayers by standing against wasteful spending while fighting for local priorities that matter right here at home. From protecting Lake Greenwood to helping constituents with state government, I'm committed to doing the job the right way. If you need me, you can call me directly at 864-396-3110. I'm John McCravy, and I paid for this message, not special interests, not PACs.
Have a favorite blizzard from Dairy Queen? Did you know you can make it into a Dairy Queen blizzard cake?
DQ. Happy tastes good.
Make every occasion special with a blizzard cake only from your local Dairy Queen on the 72 bypass. Order one today.
DQ. Happy tastes good.
So make your next occasion extra special with your favorite blizzard as a cake. Only from Dairy Queen.
DQ. Happy tastes good.
Hi, this is Brantley with Greenwood Chick-fil-A. Nominate your office, teachers, church group, or team for Breakfast for a Bunch with WCRS. We love surprising and delighting our Greenwood community. Call or text 864-332-9355. It would be our pleasure. Call or text 864-332-9355 for Breakfast for a Bunch with WCRS.
Never give up, never surrender. Never give up, never surrender. Never give up, never surrender. You heard it, WCRS. We will never give up, never surrender. Keep listening right here on WCRS. We try harder because we will never give up, we will never surrender.
Oh, yeah, that's right. How you doing, everybody? Hey, I'm Ann Eller. Princess Penny is saying, this is boring, boring. I like it when we talk about my stuff. Penny got all spiffed up this weekend. She really looks quite lovely, don't you, Penny? You want to say anything this morning? Not really. I don't like the conversation we're having here. I can't vote, so I don't know why anybody else should care. Well, this thing on data centers, there's a lot more that I want to talk about, but I just wanted to, and hopefully we'll have time. I think we should have time to be able to talk it tomorrow. Tomorrow, you do get to vote. If you haven't already voted, you do have to be registered to vote. If you want to check where you vote or to see if you are registered to vote, you go to SC Votes, and that site, you punch in a little information about yourself, and bam, it shows you right where you're going to vote, if you're qualified to vote, if you're qualified, if you're registered to vote. So I would highly recommend, if you have a question, tomorrow we will be voting at precincts. Your precinct. So you do need to know where it is. So make sure that if you don't already know, just go to SC Votes and it'll come up right there and tell you. I think the polls, I do believe, open at 7 o'clock and they are open till 7 p.m. But one of the things I wanted to talk about on the Republican ballot, if you happen to be voting in the Republican primary, there are a couple of questions, and I thought it might be helpful to, if you, sometimes you get there and you don't know what the questions, and you're kind of confused or don't really know what the answer is for you because you haven't even thought about it. So at the bottom of the South Carolina Republican primary ballot, after the listed races for governor, Congress, and some state legislative seats, GOP voters will encounter two questions that have nothing to do with choosing a candidate. The party has long used its primary ballots to gauge where Republican voters stand on issues beyond the candidates themselves. This year, that means asking primary voters whether South Carolina should require party registration and whether school board candidates should be allowed to run with party labels. The question and the underlying question. The question is, should people have the right to register with the political party of their choice when they register to vote? Translation, do you want South Carolina to switch to a closed or even semi-closed primary system? Republicans have long wanted just Republicans voting in a Republican primary. I think there's a couple of sides to it. I think the biggest proponent for it being that way, should Republicans choose the candidate to run against a Democrat or a Libertarian or a communist? I mean, should Republicans, because we got some communists running, now. So the question is, should we have the right to do that? So that is the question. So the question says, should people have the right to register with the political party of their choice when they register to vote? Meaning, do you want South Carolina to switch to a closed or even semi-closed primary system? The second question, should candidates for local school boards be able to run as a candidate of the political party of their choice, just like candidates for other elected offices? Translation, do you want school board races to be partisan contestants? So why this matters? These aren't ballot measures. There's no right or wrong answer. This is your opinion. This is a way for the state, particularly the Republican Party, to find out where their constituents stand. Nothing becomes law based on the outcome. There is not a referendum. Think of them instead as of political temperature check. The results won't settle the debate, but they may give Republican leaders additional ammunition when it comes to making the case for making changes they'd like to see in South Carolina's election system. So in our primaries in the past, Republicans in the Palmetto State have argued that open primaries allow Democrats and other non-Republicans to influence the candidate selection process. But in 2020, a group of Republican activists encouraged the same tactic in reverse, urging GOP voters to participate in the Democratic presidential primary and support Bernie Sanders. They called that Operation Chaos. The goal was twofold. boast the candidate they believe would be easiest for Donald Trump to defeat, and highlight what they saw as shortcomings in the South Carolina election system. So on partisan school board races, has been simmering here in South Carolina politics for years. Whether it's school board races should remain officially nonpartisan. Supporters argue that party labels would give voters more information about the candidates and bring school board elections in line with most other elected offices. Some local Republican parties have already tried to help voters on that front by endorsing candidates. Critics counter that school boards are already political enough and that formally attaching party labels could further nationalize local education issues. So these are two questions. You don't have to answer them, but you do have the option of yes or no on those questions. I thought it might be helpful to have that information when you walk in. Other than that, there are a lot of offices that are open and have contenders to them, and I'm not going to go through that now, but we have talked about a lot of them. You will have to make up your final decision. So tomorrow is Election Day, but we're not done with the conversation about data centers. Data centers. We'll continue looking at how other communities are handling data centers and whether Greenwood's approach is the best one. Maybe the lesson from Clueless is that every generation thinks it has all the answers when life reminds us we still have plenty to learn. So make sure that you put down that you are if you haven't already voted, get out there and vote. Get out there and vote. That's the most important thing you can do. We'll also be talking about the results all week, about what happened on the election. But know that it is time to vote in your precinct. If you have questions about what precinct you're going to be voting in, make sure that you go to SC Votes. I mean, you can call our local election office and find out from them, but they are going to be working very hard and very stressed to get everybody in and out and get all these votes counted. So I just thought maybe you could just go to SC Votes, scvotes.com. In closing, I did want to mention about the farmers market vouchers. The farmers market vouchers. You know, these are the senior vouchers that are given out every year right before the start of the farmers market. Nearly 65,000 in farmers market vouchers distributed to Greenwood County residents. Isn't that terrific? Seniors waited to receive vouchers for fresh produce on Wednesday and on Thursday at the Greenwood Farmers Market out there at the Greenwood County Recreation Site, formerly AKA the Civic Center site. They said there were volunteers. Nobody had to get out of their car. You did have to make some declarations to get it. The county began distributing vouchers Wednesday. By the end of the first day, 1,180 voucher packets were distributed, leaving just 120 available for Thursday morning. Each packet was worth $50, bringing the total value to right at $65,000. By mid-afternoon on Thursday, the county had given out all the vouchers with 200 people on the voucher waiting list. Now, they think they may get some more. If they do, then I guess those people that are on the waiting list would get those first. So vouchers are distributed on a first-come, first-served basis. Eligible Greenwood County residents age 60 or older could receive the $50 in farmers market vouchers provided through 5 $10 checks. And this has been a boon for many years. Certainly, they have since COVID. I think they actually have refined how they do it. I remember when you used to have to go into the farmer's market, they'd have a table set up. Now you just go through drive-through, give them a little bit of information, and boom, you get the vouchers. Those vouchers can be used at any farmer's market between now and, September or something. But you do have to use them or you will lose them. You do have to use them or you will lose them. So just another good thing that is provided, and particularly provided for our seniors to get some fresh fruits and vegetables. So that is really terrific. I did want to say a little bit, just as we close out the show here today, about the Festival of Flowers. The Beach Blast was a lot of fun. The wine walk, I saw a lot of people out there enjoying that. Lots of crafts and whatnot were out there too. A lot of unique crafts were at the craft show. And I will say I thought it was great the way they had the craft show there till 9 o'clock. And then they they had the music going, beats, blooms and beats. The wine walk was going on, moving the wine walk over there to where the Lander Bearcat, the topiary was, certainly made it better for dispersing people out. So a lot of good little changes had been made, but overall I think people's experience has been great. I thoroughly enjoyed going out and seeing the educational gardens out there at Puckett's Ferry. Some of the things that they were doing, I love the moon garden, and I didn't understand what a moon garden was. But the moon garden, this is a little off topic for what we usually talk about, is about reflective items, leaves and whatnot, that reflect the moon. So that was pretty cool, and I was thinking about the Addams Family. Remember when Morticia used to go out and she'd have that reflector and she'd moonbathe out in her moon garden? Yes. Well, that has become a real thing, and they really are lovely. They use a lot of light reflective colors, a lot of white or gray-white plants that do this. But to see Ann Barklow had a lot of native plants in her gardens. Some of the others, the deer-resistant one couple had a black, like wrought iron fencing, and then because the deer could hop right over that, they put another layer, put fine fencing that was black, and you didn't really notice it, but it made it so it was very difficult for the deer to jump over. They also talked a lot about, and this is something if you deal with deer, about having things that they don't like, maybe next to things that they do, and how the two keep the things that they don't like away from those that they do like if they're in close proximity. So a lot of neat stuff, talking about mosquitoes, how they make up this mosquito gunk. We talked with Ann Bartlow on the show about that when she was on the other day. Lots of great displays. I think the Master Gardeners really are to be commended. They went all out to make this a great exhibit. I think I heard they had around 200 people just coming out there to Puckett's Ferry. And of course there were other gardens on the tour too. This is a great undertaking that happens in our community. There are more things that will be going on. In fact, I think they are today doing, let's see if I can find it for you. Well, that's the wrong one, Ann, so let's gotta switch over here. I think today they are actually having the pollinators walk out at the across from the Veterans Center there. And let's see if I can find it. I didn't pull that up. Let me see if she's got that in here today. Let's see. Please share Buzzing with Life, a tour of Greenwood's pollinator paradise. It'll be tomorrow, Tuesday, June 9th. The popular Clemson Extension Lunch and Learn series will take a walk on the wild side on Tuesday. Out there participants gather outdoors for Buzzing with Life, a tour of Greenwood's pollinator paradise. Instead of meeting at the Extension office, attendees will meet at the gazebo in front of the Veterans Plaza. It will be Ann Barklow and Carla Coffey, and so they will be out there showing off all these pollinator-friendly plants, monarch butterflies, and the milkweed they depend upon, creating year-round blooms, etc., etc. So the fun thing is I did want to tell you about it because I do think that it is a really interesting part of what we do here. So that's a little bit about what we got going on here. I will tell you that Penny went down Saturday night just to finish up and close this up. Penny had been in the house pretty much all day, although it was pretty hot out there. You can tell she is a hothouse dog. Yes, a hothouse. She doesn't like to be outside. She likes to be cool. I want to be cool. And because we'll go out and walk, and all of a sudden she'll be like, I've had enough. Just carry me back here. Please get me back in the house. All right. But Saturday night we decided to take a trip down there to the Uptown Market. She did pretty well walking around there. We're getting much, much better. She's getting to that point that maybe she could go out in public more. I don't know. I just thought I'd mention that. But she did we sat there and listened to some music. You know, the thing about Penny, if it had been Gracie would not have listened to or enjoyed the music at all. Penny does enjoy the music. So, we've had some questions come in. Maybe we should check this out. This is from James Long. I have a simple question about data centers. Have any one of the county councils signed any form of non-disclosure agreements regarding data centers? Well, I have an interesting comment that came up on that at the meeting Saturday at the Democratic meeting. You've got to tune in tomorrow, James, because we'll be covering that because I did think this was rather interesting. Joanna Bishop made a comment, and I will share it with you tomorrow right here on WCRS. So I hope you get to tune in. I think she was just trying to be funny, but was she? I don't know. So you'll have to tune in tomorrow if you want to hear more about that. As I said, please get out and vote. Please make sure you tune in tomorrow. We'll have a lot more information about the discussion. I thought it was most interesting that our county manager, that quite often has not a lot to say in any of the meetings, etc., was there actually to discuss the data centers. And I'll tell you what I found very interesting was the level of interest and the quality of the questions that were asked about data centers. Because I don't think they had much time to prepare, meaning this notice came out Friday afternoon and this meeting was Saturday morning. And a lot of the people had really good questions. I really think that the county manager and James Bateman and even Joanna Bishop were a little surprised at the number of questions. I think they thought they'd be there maybe half an hour. They ended up being there about an hour and a half. So people were very engaged in the process, had a lot of questions. I will tell you, I'm not going to tell you. I'll just save it for tomorrow. One person who is very knowledgeable about data centers, I'll tease this, who's very knowledgeable about data centers, works for huge companies that have need for large areas of keeping data, said that, and I quote, sort of, this is a paraphrase quote, whatever things you put in place, keep in mind that a data center is a huge money maker, and that $1 million fine would not even faze many of these data centers. So when you put in your regs, you better make sure that they are really, really strong and they have some teeth to it. That is a slight, that is paraphrasing what he said. We'll have that quote for you tomorrow right here on the radio. So it was very impressive, very impressive. The knowledge and the interest that people had in finding out about the data centers. So I hope you will tune in tomorrow where we'll continue this discussion. That is on our Facebook Live page, WCRS Radio. Let's check and see if we got any questions here this morning on. Where is it? Let's see. Hold on. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Nope. Okay. That's nothing that we need to discuss there. And let's see. Do we have anything else? Yep. Okay. I do want to remind you that the Greenwood Rehabilitation Hospital won last week's Breakfast for a Bunch. I hope you're going to sign up. I have noticed we've had a lot more people signing up. This is terrific because we want WCRS and Chick-fil-A want the opportunity to be able to bring you Breakfast for a Bunch from Chick-fil-A with something delightful and surprising and delicious. I'm going to add delicious in there. So please make sure that you do that today. 864-332-9355. 864-332-9355. Also, I just got a message in here that somebody just sent me a message. Is it right here? Okay, well, here you go. This is just a message that came in on tonight's Greenwood Republican meeting. This is from Theo. Tonight's GOP meeting at Howard's upstairs at 6. All are welcome. Glenda, Jean, we'll all be there. I'm bringing, Theo said this, that Theo is bringing the following: James Bateman, Economic Development; Rob Russian, Assistant County Manager for Planning; Carson Penny, County Attorney; Stephanie Dorn, Assistant County Manager for Finance; and Toby Chappell and me. You get the full staff that has worked in the data center protection text amendment zoning. That is from Theo Lane, who is the county council chairman. So if you'd like to hear more about this, and I guess I will be there so that I can compare what is being said, what is not said, and we will have more info for you tomorrow. But the Republican meeting, and all are invited to come to that. It is upstairs at Howard's this evening. This meeting was supposed to be just a get-together of the Republicans and make a plan for this following year, or going into the fall, who you'd like to see for guests and everything. But kind of like the Democratic side. And instead of just bringing 3 people to the Democratic Party one, they've decided to pull out all the heavy-duty guns, kind of like they did for their meeting on Tuesday with County Council. So all of you are invited to come to the meeting. Please like this, please share it, please get it out amongst yourselves. If you have questions, if you'd like the opportunity to speak, maybe was left with more than 3 minutes, like a county council meeting, maybe you can ask some questions. So I highly recommend that you go to the meeting tonight. That'll be at 6 o'clock upstairs in Howard's. Come pack the meeting, come hear what they say about data centers. This will be all about data centers. So I'm sure that Stephanie Dorn will be giving us the economic impact of it. But again, to me, a very simple question is, until you can get all this information together, until you can satisfy the folks that this is under control, why not just do a moratorium? And you can do it for 2 years, or you can do it for a year, or you can do it and lift it whenever the information is available. But this should be a very interesting meeting, and I certainly am looking forward to being there for it and bringing you more information tomorrow. So again, that is at 6 this evening. Howard's upstairs. All are welcome. So I am excited to hear that they are coming to the Republican meeting tonight at 6 o'clock. With that piece of good news, more information available to you, and more opportunity for you to ask the questions you want to ask, please be there, 6 p.m., upstairs Howard's. I'm Ann Eller. That is going to, I believe, do it for me. This is WCRS Radio. Let's take it away. Penny, shall we drop the curtain? Let's take a look at Penny before we leave, see what she's doing. Are you ready? I am starving. You haven't fed me yet this morning. Hey, if you got a comment for Penny, 864-332-9355, 864-332-9355. That's it for me, folks. Show end. Play the music. We're out of here. Bye-bye, everybody.